Welcome back to the Everyday Hair Colorist. Today's guest is Georgia Bell, owner of Society Salon in Rotherham in the UK. She's a colorist, an educator, a brand ambassador, and she was in the Fellowship Colour Project in 2019. So welcome, Georgia. Thanks for coming on board.
Thank you so much for having me, Jack. It's a pleasure to come along and talk to you today. Really excited to be here.
So you've been in the industry for about 10 years now, yeah?
Yeah, about 10 years. So
10 years.
Yeah, always learning.
So tell me, how did hair start for you?
I actually, just from being a Saturday girl, actually, in, my next village on from me is where I really got passionate about it. But I actually started out doing fashion at university first, but I still really wanted to be a hairdresser. So I followed my dreams. I sort of quit fashion and then I started volunteering at a salon in Huddersfield where I was based. And then I just took it from there, really.
This is really interesting because a number of guests who've been on, and it's mainly been the American guests, have gone to university to begin with and either taken the degree and finished it, but because that's what was expected of them, and then they moved into hair, which is where their passion was. So can you just talk a little bit about going to fashion and how you discovered your love for hair?
Well, I think it's all interlinked, actually, isn't it? Hair, fashion, beauty, that kind of thing. And I remember actually saying to my boss when I was a Saturday girl, I really want to do hairdressing. And he said to me, don't do it. Go to university. Go and do fashion. And sometimes, as a salon owner, you can get quite bogged down, and I get it. But that was always my dream. And then, I did about 2 years at university. And then I just thought, no, and I was working in a cafe part-time as well, and there was a really cool hairdressers in that was like in a big arcade, and it was called XTG, which stood for Extonian Guy. So I went up there to the girls and I went and spoke to them, and they agreed to sort of take me on as a bit of a volunteer. And then I did evening college to sort of get my MVQ, if you'd like, in hairdressing.
Wow. That's a nice way around it. So how old were you when you went into hairdressing then?
21.
21, so a little bit later than the 16-year-old thing.
Actually, I was 22, I was 22 when I went into it. But I mean, I'd had sort of 4 years with Gary as the Saturday girl. I just loved it. I loved that salon vibe. I love, the fact that you can really make somebody feel better.
Yes.
And I love that. I think it's so special. I think it's one of the most personable jobs there is. And I just, really warmed to it and really wanted it. And I knew that I wanted a salon one day. And then, after I'd sort of worked with the girls for about 4 years at XTG, I then moved back to my hometown of Rotherham.
Right.
I sort of got with some of the team that I'm with now, and we were working all together at a salon. And then I decided to open my own salon.
So that's a pretty short period of time, isn't it? From going back into hairdressing full-time and then 4 years on the floor and then deciding you want to open a salon. What was that like?
So, I don't know. I'm now just feeling like I'm becoming a good hairdresser, and actually it's weird because when I opened we had a couple of years all together at that salon. And then I opened my salon, and then I was on the salon floor for about 2 years, and I started entering the industry stuff, and I was getting to some finals, and I was really out of my depth. I spent all my time training the team with everything I knew, and I had nobody helping me.
Right.
So it was at that point then that I decided, to start writing to people that really inspired me in the industry, just to try and get some help, and just go volunteer and kind of retrain again, which is exactly what I did.
So you wanted to upskill. What made you decide to want to enter into competitions, first of all? Because that's always an interesting one, isn't it? Because they can cost a fortune or not, depending on how you do it. From a salon owner wanting to jump into competitions as well. Talk us through that.
Well, really, it was just my reps, my colour reps saying, we think you should enter this colour competition, we think you should enter this, so give it a go. I'm not actually into competition work that much now, Jack, to be honest, but it did make me, when I went to these competitions, and I remember feeling so terribly out of my depth, and actually you kind of you take a step back, don't you, and you reevaluate and you think, you know, it's almost like I always joked with one of my friends in the industry. I always said I feel like I opened a salon and then I started to learn to be a hairdresser, which is really funny. Do you know?
They're different skill sets though, aren't they? Opening a salon and a hairdresser, they're very different skill sets.
I just think, you know, I look back now and I can see my work has improved greatly, and I think that there's still a lot of room for improvement, because I think if you want to be the best, you're always open and you're always willing to learn. But even the other night, you know, I was looking back to the work when we first opened, and then I was looking back to the work we're producing now, and I thought, God, what an amazing journey to actually witness, and the quality, and, you know, what a learning curve.
Yes. I think it's always good. This is one of the things I say about entering competitions, though. And even when I competitions, I don't always mean hair competitions. I mean brand competitions, and, you know, things like the BHBA, the business awards and stuff like that. When you actually look back at your year's story, sometimes you're like, wow, that's really... I can't believe I did that. I can't believe I made that leap. Or I think it's really good to self-reflect on where you've been and what you've done. Oh,
absolutely. And then, you know, it's great when you've tried and you can see that growth and that journey, and then you start winning the competitions that you're entering, and that again, it just shows progression, doesn't it?
It does. It does. Now, you're recently renovating your salon, aren't you?
Yeah, huge rebrand. I think this lockdown has given us a lot of time to reflect on things, and I think I was going to redesign my logo because my salon was formerly called Twisted Scissors, so I was going to redesign my logo, and I was kind of went on a walk, and I couldn't think of anything to redesign, and I thought, this is because I think I've just come on such a big journey that I feel like it's time to change it. And, you know, I've been, especially when I've gone to London and I've seen other models of, you know, freelance salons, or, you know, like Hunter Collective, things like that, just really cool spaces. I've been so inspired, and I really felt it was time. And then I think as well, sometimes when you open a salon, you know, I had a baby the day before I opened my salon, Jack, so it was really rushed. Yeah, you know, everything was put in and I didn't really think about it, and we just it was all go. And then when you live in something for... there's so many women in this industry that have a baby and carry on with their business. They just get on with it. Yeah, it's just like, how? I literally had a baby and I was at work the next day because I'd just opened the salon. So you spend sort of 4 years in that place, and you kind of get used to it, and you kind of see what works and what doesn't. So then in lockdown, you know, I thought, actually, these basins, they don't work here. These heaters are rubbish. I need aircon. I need this. I need that. You know, all the things to make a salon really function. I just thought about it, and I thought, I've lived in this salon for 4 years now. My staff have lived in this salon for 4 years. And I've got to take into consideration everything that people like, what they don't like, what's going to make it run better. And now I've got a perfect opportunity to do that. So that's exactly what I've done.
Wow, how long has that taken to do the refit?
We're just moving on to week 6 now, but yeah.
Week 6. So I'm going to ask you something rather contentious then about that, because I always think, as a colourist, and of course you're a colourist, salon lighting is always made to make the client skin look great, and for it to be the ambience and everything. It's usually a hairdresser that's designed it, but when you get to the colour department, I'm like, I can't see in this light. It's where the skylights, where the right lights.
Yeah, no, so, okay, we have took the lighting into consideration. It's not dark and dingy, and we want to...
Or dark and moody.
Or dark and moody. Yeah, dark and moody. I think that's a better choice of words, actually.
Yeah.
We need great social media, and in order to do that, we need good lighting.
Right.
You know, when I had big stations before and I had big long mirrors, clients have never really complained about the lighting. What they have complained about is seeing themselves in a huge mirror. So I've completely taken that away, and it's just going to be from shoulders up kind of thing, you know, and just the hair is the feature. So yeah, but the lighting's good. I need good lighting because I think you can sort of, your work is in jeopardy if you don't have it.
I think so too. I think it's really hard if you can. We've spoken to people on here, of course, who have built time in to take their photographs and consider all that. Of course, the Californians have fantastic light all the time. It's much harder for us to do that picture thing, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, it's really nice as well. We do two types of photos in our salon. So, you know, sometimes I don't believe in a ring light because I think it can give a very false impression of colour. So sometimes it's really nice to go outside in natural light and take photographs as well. However, we are in the UK, we don't always get the best of weather, so we've got to kind of do with what we can, you know?
Absolutely. I think that that ring light conversation is a big one, isn't it? But I sort of came round to thinking that ring lights were okay because all they were doing was showing an image of your work. It's like having something done in a shoot where they've changed the lighting and brightened it up and all of that stuff. And so it's not is it what it looks like in real life? Not necessarily, but it's an allusion to the work that you do.
Yeah, I mean, I know a lot of colourists that edit their work as well. You know, they'll go on the phone with an app and they'll edit, and we don't do that. So the only thing we will use in our salon is a ring light. And we just make sure that the styling is really on point, and we take a good 15, 20 minute for photographs, because we feel like there's nothing worse than not being able to capture that image. You know. This is a really interesting one. So as we go back into working, are you building time into your appointments to take pictures as well? Yeah, I mean, we've always done, before that, we've always trained each other.
Yeah.
There's always been training sessions on social media within the salon where everyone's trained to a certain spec to take those photos. We know what we're looking for. We know we don't want any stray hairs on the top of the head. We know the curls need to be, you know, there needs to be no gaps. If it's straight, it's super sleek. So everyone was trained to a higher spec. But what we're doing after lockdown is actually we're having colour appointments much longer. So we're doing 3, possibly 4 on our late nights of clients, just one client at a time.
Right.
So yeah, it'll be built in.
And you know, as talking about this, because you're setting it all up and you've had time to reevaluate and all those things. Do you charge for consultations? Do you take deposits? Do you feel that going forward with people prepaying and stuff like that? How do you feel about all of those things, Georgia?
We don't charge for consultation, but if you do book, then you are required to leave a deposit. But we have just changed our system to Forest software, so with that, clients will put their card details in, and if they don't show, they'll take a small fee. But if there's no shows, then they will be charged.
Yeah.
You know,
I think that for me, coming out of this, it's probably the biggest change that's happened to our industry, besides the fact that we've not been able to work for 89 days, the fact that we can now, you know, the pre-booking, taking the client's credit cards. I think that as an industry, we suffer so badly as a whole with no shows and people cancelling at the last minute.
Yeah.
And that's just going to eliminate that.
Yeah, and as a colourist as well, Jack, you'll know this. As any creative person, actually, time is money.
Time is money.
You know, 3 hours to me is such a huge amount of time, you know.
But if you have one of those a week, that's a massive drop. And if you multiply that by all of your staff that have one of those a week, and there's 4 of you, it's beyond ridiculous.
Do you know what? It can amount to about $100,000 loss by the end of the year. You know,
Yeah.
if you look at it from a business perspective. So, you know,
Absolutely.
it's
Absolutely.
even when clients, you know, don't book back in time. That's a massive loss as well, you know, and of course it creates more work for us.
Yeah, I think we've all had time to sit back and reflect. I think, and for those that are proactive, then they'll put changes into place. I hope, anyway. That's my hope for the industry. Let's go back a little bit on your journey. You said earlier in the podcast that you started reaching out to hairdressers to ask them for help or to ask them questions. That's obviously on social.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, the first time actually was I wrote a handwritten letter to somebody that I really wanted to work with in London, which was Sophia Hilton, and I ended up, you know, working with her for 2 years. But everyone else, I reached out on social, and I was assisting BHAs, I was helping people like Brandon Messenger, you know, anyone that really inspired me. I just asked for help, and you know what? I think as an industry, we're incredibly giving.
I think we are too. I think we're definitely that. What were you asking for help for?
I just wanted to become a better colourist. I wanted to become, you know, better at what I do.
Right.
And like I said before, if you're at the forefront of a team, and if you've kind of winged it for like 7 years, and then you've opened a salon, and then you see another side. You know, a lot of people that open salons, Jack, they've come from an incredibly amazing salon, you know, or they've had an amazing career. I never did all that. I had 3 kids, pretty close to each other. It became about survival. So I really went to a salon because I needed to put food on the table, and all the great training and all the competition work and all the exciting stuff was completely forgotten about because it was just like you become like a cash cow, you know. So actually, when I had the opportunity and I opened my salon, I wanted better for myself and I wanted better for my team. I wanted people to come in and train us. I wanted to be able to go and see things and bring it back and inspire other people. I wanted to get into education, but I didn't know how. So I thought I'll go work for free. And that's exactly what I did. I went to London one day a week. You know, I had to get up at 4 a.m. to get into London at peak time at 8:30. And then I used to get home at midnight, but it was hard.
I remember when you were doing that.
It was so worth it.
Yeah.
Like, it showed me a different side. And then through that, Sophia's helped me with my own education. And so now I go and teach people, and that's amazing. But it was 3 years of real hard graft. Yeah. But everything that's worth having is hard, isn't it?
Were the kids older at that point then? Because there's lots of moms out there who are working hairdressers and moms and wives and girlfriends and all those things. Were your kids older? Because they don't look that old to me.
No. So my daughter will have been 2 when I first started.
Wow.
Or about 18 months when I first started, and then my eldest will have been 6, and my other one will have been 4.
How did you navigate that?
I've got a really supportive husband.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's the only way that you can ever do that.
Yeah, because that's like working full-time in the salon, 3 kids, a husband, and then doing those ridiculously long days on your own time to better yourself takes a lot of stamina, and I'm sure some things had to be sacrificed in that.
Oh, absolutely. I think, you know what, a lot of people see me on social media and my life will look quite exciting, but in actual fact, it's really structured. So it's got to be. So it means I get, to try and build my social media, to try and build my own brand, it means that I get up at 5 a.m. I do 2 hours on Instagram, on social. It really is relentless.
Yes.
But I think when you are a business owner, or, when you look after your own business, that is what it takes. It takes that commitment. It
does take that commitment. And so many people just say, oh, I can't do that, I haven't got time for it. But you've found the time in that. And of course, the rewards have been rather amazing, really, haven't they? Yeah,
absolutely. I think it's, I really feel proud of my progression. And I'm still always learning. And I still love to learn from people. But yeah, the rewards have been fantastic. It's great when you look at your team and you can see the level of progression in them, and it makes you feel really proud.
Absolutely, and you should be proud of everything you've done with your own logo on a Denman brush.
Yeah, that's amazing, isn't it?
Yeah, amazing. Talk about branding yourself. That branding's really clear when I see that logo. I know exactly who that is. That's you.
Yeah, I really had an amazing logo designer for that, actually. He really, his name's Carver, and he really listened to what I wanted, and I really wanted it. I made myself the brand, and I think that's quite important. But that's always for my education. Society is going to be very different. It's more about the team. But for my education, I really wanted to sort of say, this is what I am, kind of thing. And yeah, Denman are a fantastic company to work for. So I love that.
I'm a big fan of Denman too. So we'll just do a little plug there for your brush and my brushes.
Well, yeah, your brushes are amazing. Actually, no, they're a great. They're a great company to work for.
So education, how did you're in London assisting, you're running the salon, the kids, and then education.
Yeah, so it took a sort of a year and a half. So initially when I was helping Sophia, it was just at the salon. And then, I really went and worked very hard, Jack. So she said, why don't you come and do the academy? And then that way you'll see all of our techniques. And then from that, you kind of say, oh, I could take a little bit out of that, and I could take a little bit out of that, and I could create my own. But it took a good year and a half.
Yes.
And I actually went to Sophia and I said, this is what I'd like to do. She sat me down, she talked to me about it. And really, education was never on the cards. But from putting my work out there, people were, messaging me on Instagram and just asking if I would teach them what I do, So I sat down, I devised a programme and then just slowly built it from there. I mean, before lockdown, I was due to be going to Italy, Jersey. It was, but then obviously lockdown happened. But I'm hoping eventually it'll all go back to normal.
It'll all become something, won't it? And we'll all learn how to deal with it. I think that's the point, isn't it?
Yeah.
So Instagram has obviously been an amazingly powerful tool for you that has not launched your career, but has made a change, been able to change your career, as well as your hard work and your tenacity, which obviously speaks through this conversation. When did you realise that Instagram was going to be something that could really work for you?
Do you know what? I think everything's done on social media. And I think when I first came, I've only been on Instagram 2.5 years. But you know what? It's enabled. I mean, if it wasn't for social media, we wouldn't know each other.
No.
We wouldn't know, there wouldn't be any of this connection, podcast, anything going on. No. So when you look at people on Instagram, I thought this is actually this is the way that you sell yourself, if you like. You can be whatever you want to be, whether you want to push your education, whether you want to push your salon, get more clients. I've got 2 Instagrams. So I've got my Georgia Bell, which is very education focused, and then I've got Society, which is very client focused, because I think the way that you attract and speak on them is very different. If you're trying to attract a hairdresser, you use more technical stuff, you show more applications, stuff like that, than what you would do on your salon page. But I've always built it organically, but I'm not going to lie, it takes about 3 or 4 hours a day.
Well, for 2.5 years, you're at 12.4k. That's pretty amazing.
It's took a lot of work, but yeah,
yes.
I'm glad, because you know what? Even it's not the biggest following in the world, but it's all organic, so it's all valuable, because it's people that really want to follow me,
yes,
and people that interact with me. So then that's been amazing. So a lot of people, booked education via my Instagram, or I give advice via my Instagram. So yeah, it's a real valuable tool, I think.
Absolutely. And I think the message that you just said there is really important, and that we try and talk about it a lot with people. It's not always numbers. Like, a lot of people would look at that and go, God, that's a lot of followers. But what it's about is actually talking to the community, whether it's the women that come to the salon, or the women in the area that you want to attract to the salon, or it's people around the country or around the globe that you want to educate. You need to talk to them and you need to engage with them. And that's, I think, is the difference between a good account and a bad account. Yeah,
absolutely. And there's a lot of people with fake followings, but that's only good for your ego, isn't it? If you really want to monetize your social media, you really want to make money from it.
Yes.
You really want to sell your education or get a message out there. Share your opinion. It's important that who you're speaking to is interested in what you've got to say.
Absolutely. There's no point talking to somebody in Australia that's not interested in you, or in India that's not interested in you. That you need to be speaking to an audience that wants to know what you've got to say. Yeah,
absolutely. I couldn't agree more. But yeah, Instagram. I think Instagram and the education and the journey I've been on has really changed my life
for the better.
Yeah, absolutely, for the better. Yeah.
So you're very well branded now, as in your look, your glasses, the whole thing. You've got a look. I know when it's you. I could just see a flash of hair and maybe a rim of a glass, and I'm like, I know it's you. How did you figure that out?
I was just, do you know what? I always believe with branding. I remember I did a presentation course with Edward Hemingway.
Yes.
And I talked about always wearing my hat, and I just did it from whenever I went to a show or a colour show or whatever. I've always wore glasses with no lenses in them. I've always worn red lipstick, and I've always worn a hat, because I just think it's a really great way to be recognised. People will recognise you, And in the same breath, if I don't want to be recognised, I could wear like trackies and no hat.
So you can go incognito when needed.
Yeah, absolutely. If you need to do that. So yeah, I just always keep that look, because I just think it's recognisable. And I always wear really big daft earrings as well, and that's just what people were picking up on. So I just kept it,
You ran with it. Really, I think very clever piece of marketing there, I think.
Yeah.
The other thing I wanted to ask you about was that you're so confident on camera, like crazy confident. I've watched you. How Is that something natural to you, or is that something that you've had to work on? Because a lot of people are frightened of going on camera, yet you're right there. Everything's perfect in the background. And I know that doesn't take, with 3 kids in the house and a husband, that takes time to get that all ready and everything. But where did that come from? Or do you think that was just inherent in you?
Listen, I could send you like 1,000 outtakes. I think it all takes practice. So I don't think anything, and I think this is really a really good point, this, Jack, actually, because people can be put off by doing videos and going on camera, because what they see is a very polished version. Now, it took me a lot of time to get good in front of the camera, and I also did a lot of presentation courses.
Yes.
You know, I also work with a lot of people to help me with my presentation skills and the way that I do my videos. And you know, obviously, you always get a little bit nervous, but the more stage shows you do, the more you know, put yourself out there. It does get a little bit easier, but you know, we all make mistakes, and it all can be quite nerve-wracking. But I think lockdown as well has been a great opportunity to you know, get in front of the camera more and put your message out there. So yeah, I encourage it.
I mean, I personally know that you don't know it all straight away, but you are just very confident on there, and you obviously worked hard at it then, which I think is brilliant. So for everyone listening, you can do this. If we can do this, you can do this.
Yeah, absolutely. It just you've got to, you know, social media is also very good at putting that like mist in front of your eyes, you know, where people don't stand and say, I had to practice this 100 times to make sure it was perfect. I had to do 4 presentation courses. They just get in front of the camera, and then you automatically feel like you failed because you feel nervous. And that's just everything. If you want to be good at something, you've just got to practice.
Absolutely. Totally agree with you on that. Well done for you on that. The other thing you've been really involved in, you've been involved in this sort of like new TV show, haven't you?
Yeah, so I've been doing that with Dom Lehane and Jordana Cabela. And yeah, it's basically a hair magazine show. So we just aim to bring this to you weekly. Obviously, at the moment, we're doing it from all separate places because we can't meet up. But yeah, we've got loads of stuff in there. Competitions, hair news. I do like an agony ant bit, which is called Brekkie with Belle.
No, I've seen that. I've not tuned into that yet, but I've seen that on Instagram. Where did that come from? I mean, this is amazing that you've created. I mean, obviously, I'm not going to say that you haven't worked hard, because you have, but you've created this whole excitement around you.
Well, thank you. That's nice to hear. Do you know where it came from? I really like tacky stuff. So do you remember like Paula Yates on Big Breakfast?
Yes, of course.
And I was just like, I really want to be like, I like serious stuff. I like hair news. I like to hear about the hair industry, but I like to have a laugh as well.
Right.
So I thought my sort of what I want to bring to the show is, you know, I want to know people's dilemmas. I want to know what's going on in the salon. Like, let me be that person that answers it. But actually, up to now, we've had quite serious questions, so I've had to put like a bit of a disclaimer saying I'm not qualified to answer these, but I'm hoping as the show goes on, we're going to get more light-hearted questions, especially, you know, when we're back in the salon. But we're also going to be doing like hairdressing horror stories as well, like, you know, when you first started, what's the worst thing that happened to you on the salon floor and stuff like that.
Oh my God, we've all got those.
Oh, we have, and I've had some corkers, so yeah. Really funny ones.
Brilliant. Just an absolutely great chat. Before we go, what is your Instagram account? Tell everyone, I know what it is, but obviously, what is it? So it's Georgia Bowl Hair, and my salon one is Society, Rotherham. Fantastic for coming on today, Georgia. I mean, really interesting story. I mean, tenacious, hardworking and dedicated are 3 words that I would attribute to you straight away.
Oh, thank you, Jack.
You've done so well, but it's not just luck, it's been a lot of hard work, and it's amazing to hear your story.
Oh, thank you, Jack, and thank you so much for having me on today. I've really enjoyed talking to you.
I've enjoyed talking to you too, and I can't wait till we can have a drink at a bar somewhere.
Me too. Bring out the wine.
Bring out the wine. Brilliant.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. So I hope you enjoyed this podcast as much as I did making it for you. Don't forget to subscribe on your channel that you download your podcasts from. iTunes is my favourite, but I know there are others out there. And also, if you want to follow me on stories on Instagram, it's jackhowardcolor, C-O-L-O-R, the American way, not the English way. And on Facebook, it's jackhowardcolor, C-O-L-O-R. And my website is www.jackhowardcolor, C-O-L-O-R.com.